All right, so we've got a whole stack of reports and articles here all about KLA Corporation.
KLA Corporation.
Yeah, have you heard of them?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so they're a pretty big deal in the world of semiconductors. You know, those tiny little chips that are like in everything these days, from our phones to spaceships.
Right.
And today we're going to kind of analyze KLA, look at it as a potential investment, try to answer that age-old question: should we buy it, should we sell it, or should we just hold on to what we got?
Makes sense.
And by the end, you'll know a lot more about KLA, and you'll be able to kind of, make that decision for yourself maybe.
Yeah.
And as an added bonus, we've got like a thought-provoking question about the future of the semiconductor industry.
Oh, I like those.
Yeah, it'll make you think.
I'm intrigued.
Okay, so to start, let's figure out what KLA actually does.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the main thing is something called process control, which is like the quality control, but for chip making. So you know how if you're building a house of cards.
Yeah. One little thing's off,
Right.
and the whole thing collapses.
Yeah.
KLA's tools is like they're making sure that doesn't happen,
They're the steady hands.
Exactly. Each little component is like perfectly placed. So that's kind of what they're all about.
So to break it down even more,
Okay.
their business is like in three main parts, right? You got inspection tools, metrology systems, and then like chemical process control.
Okay, there's some technical terms.
Yeah, they sound complicated, but
Break it down for me.
inspection tools, think of it like really, really powerful microscopes, right? They look for any tiny little defects on the chips.
Oh, okay.
Metrology systems, those are like super precise measuring tapes. They make sure every component is the exact right size, And then the chemical process control, that's like the chemistry side of things, making sure all the reactions happen the way they're supposed to.
Not like the mad scientists.
Yeah, but like in a good way, making sure those chips are perfect. So they're like the guardians of chip perfection.
Basically.
Okay, so that's what they do. But are they like one of many companies doing this, or?
Oh, no, they're the big players.
Yeah.
They've got like over 50% of the market share,
Wow, really?
Yeah, and their clients, we're talking the biggest names in chips, TSMC, Samsung.
Wow.
These companies, they rely on KLA to make sure their chips are flawless.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it says a lot about, their reputation and everything.
I'm starting to see why we're even looking at them as an investment here. I mean, a company with that much market share, they've got to have a pretty solid team running the show, right?
Right. So let's talk about the management team.
Okay.
One thing that really stands out is just how stable it is,
Okay.
The average time someone on the leadership team has been there is over 11 years.
11 years. That's crazy, especially in tech.
I know, right?
That's almost unheard of.
Yeah, it really shows you that they've got a good environment there. And it's not just, how long they've been there, but these are people who know the industry inside and out. Like the CEO, Rick Wallace, he's been with KLA since 1988.
Wow, 88, that's before I was even born.
Yeah, and the CFO, Bren Higgins, he's been there since 99. So they really get it,
It's like having a seasoned captain at the helm, guiding the ship.
Exactly.
So speaking of navigating, complex situations, let's talk about the numbers, the nitty-gritty.
The financials.
Yeah, what's KLA's financial health looking like?
Well, their financial performance is actually pretty exciting.
Okay, yeah.
Their revenue growth year over year is 18.5%, which is really healthy. It shows they're not just like surviving, they're thriving.
Right.
But even more impressive, I think, is their gross margin.
Their gross margin, okay, hold on. For those of us who don't speak finance, what is a gross margin?
Yeah. So basically, it tells you how much profit they make on each dollar of sales after they've paid for, making their products or services.
Gotcha.
And KLA's is 60.3%.
60%, wow.
Yeah, so for every dollar they make, they get to keep about 60 cents as profit.
Okay.
And that's really good.
That is good.
It's way higher than average for the industry, which means they can charge good prices and they're running things efficiently.
So they're growing and they're making good money while they're at it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good sign. I like it.
And on top of that, they also have a dividend yield of 0.9%.
Okay, not huge, but
It's not huge, but it's something.
it's a little bonus for shareholders, right?
Exactly, especially for those who like that passive income.
All right. So far, so good.
Yeah, they seem to be doing well.
Yeah, but we can't get too excited yet.
Right.
Got to see what the market thinks, right?
Right.
It's like, is their stock actually considered a good buy?
Right. We got to look at the market sentiment next.
Okay, so let's do that.
Sounds good.
Let's see what the analysts are saying about KLA and if it really is a golden opportunity for investors.
All right, let's dive in. So market sentiment, right? What's everyone saying about KLA?
Yeah, are the analysts bullish or bearish or what?
Well, the general consensus, it looks like it leans towards a moderate buy.
Moderate buy, okay.
Yeah, so most analysts think it's a good investment right now.
Okay.
They've set an average price target of $831.68,
Okay.
which, if you look at the current price, that suggests a potential upside of like 9.55%.
10%? That's not bad.
Not bad at all.
But, analysts, they're not always right.
Of course. Yeah, they don't have crystal balls or anything.
Right, they're not fortune tellers.
No, but their opinions can definitely influence what investors do.
True.
Especially when you see a lot of them agreeing on something.
Yeah, it's like peer pressure for investing.
Exactly. Like, if everyone's jumping on the bandwagon, you might feel like you should too.
Makes sense. So it sounds like the analysts are generally positive on KLA.
Yeah, for the most part.
But, are there any, dissenting voices, any red flags we should be aware of?
Well, there are always different opinions, right?
Sure.
It's important to look at the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
That's where these smart scores can be helpful, I think.
Smart scores, what are those?
So they give you a more detailed analysis. They go beyond just the financial numbers.
Okay.
And look at other factors, too.
Interesting. So what do they say about KLA?
Well, KLA actually scores really well on growth and momentum.
Okay, that makes sense.
Which aligns with, what we saw with their financials.
Right.
But they get a weak rating on value, which means basically the stock might be a bit overpriced right now.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And they also score low on resilience.
Resilience. So, how well they can handle tough times.
Exactly.
Like if there's an economic downturn or something happens in the industry?
Yeah, and it suggests that KLA might be more vulnerable to those kinds of shocks compared to some of their competitors.
Okay, something to keep in mind.
Definitely, especially with all the talk about a potential slowdown in the semiconductor industry in 2024.
Right. We got to factor that in for sure.
Yeah, it's a risk.
Okay, so we've looked at the numbers, we've heard from the analysts, but what about who's actually holding KLA stock?
The ownership structure?
Yeah, does that tell us anything?
It can, yeah.
Okay.
So for KLA, most of the shares, around 88.7%, are held by institutional investors.
88%. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a big chunk.
So who are these institutional investors?
They're usually big investment firms, pension funds, entities that manage a lot of money.
Gotcha. And what does that mean for KLA?
Well, it often means stability,
Okay.
These investors, they tend to have a long-term view. They're not going to panic sell if the market dips a little.
Right.
So their presence can actually help keep the stock price from fluctuating too much.
Interesting. So it's they're the anchor, keeping the ship steady.
Exactly.
Some key executives, including the CEO and CFO, they've recently sold some of their shares.
Wait, they're selling?
Yeah.
Is that a bad sign? Should I be worried?
It's not always a bad sign. It could just be, personal financial stuff or diversifying their portfolio.
Okay.
But it's something to keep an eye on.
For sure.
Especially when it involves a lot of shares.
All right. Noted. Anything else about the ownership structure we should know?
Yeah, actually, there are a few big institutional investors that hold a lot of KLA shares.
Okay, like who?
Names you probably know, like Vanguard and BlackRock.
Oh, yeah, the big guys.
Yeah, they're everywhere. And they have a lot of influence.
I can imagine. So their decisions can really impact what happens with KLA.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Business model, management, financials, market sentiment, ownership. It's time for the grand finale, the SWOT analysis.
The SWOT analysis. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, this is where we get the full picture, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Exactly. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
So let's start with the strengths. What's KLA doing well?
Well, their market dominance is a big one.
Yeah, for sure. They're like the king of the hill, right?
Exactly. 4 times bigger than their closest competitor. That gives them a lot of power,
Yeah, and a loyal customer base. We're talking TSMC, Samsung, the big names.
It's a huge advantage.
And they're known for innovation too, right?
Yeah, they invest a lot in research and development, which is important in this industry.
Absolutely. Got to stay ahead of the curve.
And of course, their financials are strong, good profitability, cash flow, high returns on capital.
Yeah, that's all good news for investors.
It shows they're a well-managed company.
Okay, so lots of strengths, but we got to be realistic. No company's perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about KLA's weaknesses? What should investors be wary of?
The biggest one is their reliance on the semiconductor industry.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It's a cyclical industry. There are booms and busts, And when demand for chips slows down, KLA's sales are going to take a hit.
The chip shortage roller coaster, we've all heard about it.
Exactly. Well, if chip makers aren't buying as much equipment, that's going to hurt KLA's sales and profits.
Right.
And remember that resilience score we talked about. KLA's low score means they might be hit harder than some of their competitors.
Okay, that's not great.
It's a risk, but let's not be all doom and gloom.
True. Got to stay optimistic. What about opportunities? What's KLA doing to grow and overcome these challenges?
Well, even with the cyclical nature, the long-term demand for these advanced chips, it's only going up.
Yeah, I mean, AI, high-performance computing, the Internet of Things, they all need chips.
Exactly, and KLA's tools, they're essential for making those chips.
So they're in a good spot then.
They are. It's like selling shovels during a gold rush.
I like that analogy. Yeah, everyone needs the tools.
Exactly, and on top of that, they could expand into new markets too, you know?
Okay, like where?
Emerging markets, places like India, Southeast Asia. As technology spreads, the demand for their products is going to grow.
Makes sense. Those are huge markets.
Yeah, lots of potential.
Okay, but let's be real. What about threats? What could, derail KLA's success?
The biggest threats, they're kind of out of their control.
Right.
Like geopolitical risks,
Yeah.
especially with China, trade wars, sanctions, even conflict. Those could really disrupt their business.
Yeah, global politics, it's a whole other ballgame.
It is, and then there's always the chance of, some new technology coming along and changing everything.
Disruption, that's the tech world for you.
Right. Got to stay ahead of the game.
So after all this analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, what's the final verdict on KLA? Buy, sell, or hold?
I'd say, based on everything we've seen, it's a buy, especially for long-term investors.
A buy. Okay, good to know. But of course, standard disclaimer.
Yes,
This is just our analysis, not financial advice.
Definitely. You got to do your own research, talk to a financial advisor, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. But even if you're not running out to buy KLA stock right now,
Right.
I think we can all agree we've learned a lot about this company. They're pretty fascinating.
They are. It's amazing how much these companies behind the scenes impact our lives.
You don't really think about it.
No, but they're everywhere.
So speaking of impact, remember that thought-provoking question from the beginning about the future of semiconductors?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the one to make you think.
All right, lay it on us.
Okay, so what new technologies do you think could shake up the semiconductor industry in the next, say, 5 to 10 years?
Ooh, that's a good one.
And how would a company like KLA adapt to those changes?
Quantum computing, maybe?
Could be.
New materials? Bio-inspired chips? Who knows? It's hard to predict.
It really is, but it's exciting to think about.
Definitely. The possibilities are endless.
It's an industry that's always pushing the limits.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for our deep dive into KLA Corporation.
It was a good one.
It was. Thanks for guiding us through it all.
Happy to do it.
And to you, our listeners, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
If you have any thoughts on that question about the future of semiconductors, let us know in the comments.
We'd love to hear your ideas.
And don't forget to subscribe to the Stock Analytics AI YouTube channel for more deep dives like this.
We're always exploring new companies and industries.
And remember, all our research is AI generated. It's not financial advice.
Just information to help you learn.
Exactly. We just love to learn and share what we find.
It's a journey of discovery.
All right. Until next time, happy investing, everyone.
See you next time.